Have you ever opened a can of Pringles, reached inside, and wondered why there's always so much empty space at the top? It almost feels like you're paying for air. Some people joke that half the can is empty on purpose just to trick customers, while others think the chips simply settle during shipping. But that empty space actually has a very specific job, and without it, the famous stack of Pringles would probably arrive as a tube full of crumbs instead of perfectly shaped chips. The story behind that little pocket of air involves engineering, food science, packaging design, and one of the most recognizable snack containers ever made. And today we will uncover why that empty space exists and how it secretly protects every chip inside, right here on History of Simple Things. Before Pringles became a global snack icon, potato chips had a major problem. Traditional chips were fragile, greasy, and incredibly easy to crush. If you bought a bag from the grocery store, chances were good that many of the chips at the bottom would already be broken into tiny pieces. Companies struggled for decades to solve this issue because customers wanted chips that stayed crisp and intact from the factory all the way to their couch at home. In the 1960s, the company that created Pringles decided to rethink the potato chip completely. Instead of slicing whole potatoes like regular chips, Pringles were made from a mixture of dehydrated potatoes, starches, and seasonings formed into identical curved shapes. That famous saddle-like curve wasn't random either. It's called a hyperbolic paraboloid, a shape engineers love because it's strong, stackable, and less likely to snap under pressure. By designing chips that fit neatly together, Pringles could be packaged in a rigid tube rather than a flimsy bag. That tube changed everything. Unlike ordinary chip bags, which puff up and shift around easily, the cylindrical can gave the chips structural support. The chips stacked vertically in a tight column, reducing movement during transportation. But even with the stronger container, another challenge remained. How do you stop the chips at the very top from getting crushed when the can is moved, shaken, or dropped? That's where the empty space comes in. The gap at the top of a Pringles can is known in packaging science as slack fill. While some forms of slack fill can be misleading, in many products it serves a legitimate purpose. In the case of Pringles, the empty space acts like a protective buffer zone. During shipping, boxes of chips experience constant vibrations, bumps, and sudden impacts. Trucks hit potholes, cargo gets stacked, and products shift around in warehouses. If the chips were packed all the way to the lid with zero room left, every jolt would press directly onto the top chips, dramatically increasing the chances of breakage. Think of it like the suspension system in a car. A little extra room allows the stack of chips to absorb movement more gently instead of transferring all that force directly into the chips themselves. The air pocket essentially acts as a cushion. It's not there because the company forgot to fill the can. It's there because those chips need breathing room to survive the journey intact. There's another important reason for the empty space: pressure changes. Snack foods are often transported across long distances and varying altitudes. Changes in air pressure can affect sealed containers. The small pocket of air inside helps stabilize the environment around the chips and reduces stress on the packaging. Even tiny engineering decisions like this can make a huge difference when millions of cans are being shipped around the world. Interestingly, Pringles cans are also carefully designed around efficiency. The tube shape allows cans to stack neatly during shipping and on store shelves, saving space compared to bulky chip bags. The cardboard and metal container is sturdy enough to protect the chips while still being lightweight. In many ways, the can itself became just as famous as the snack inside it. Of course, consumers still sometimes feel disappointed when they open a can and see a noticeable gap at the top. Over the years, people online have debated whether companies are intentionally reducing chip quantities while keeping container sizes similar. And to be fair, packaging laws in many countries actually regulate how much empty space companies can include if it serves no functional purpose. Manufacturers generally must be able to justify that empty space for protection, machinery requirements, or shipping safety. With Pringles, the company lists the weight of the product clearly on the label, which is the most important measurement legally. Even if the can looks large, what customers are technically buying is the weight of the chips, not a completely full container. That's why two snack packages of different sizes can sometimes contain similar amounts of food. Ironically, the empty space also creates another famous Pringles experience, struggling to reach the last chips at the bottom. Almost everyone has tried tilting the can upside down or sticking their hand awkwardly inside to grab the final few chips. Some people even crush the remaining chips intentionally just to pour them out more easily. That inconvenient design became so universal that it turned into a running joke online. Despite all the jokes, the Pringles can remains one of the most successful food packaging designs ever created. It solved many of the problems that traditional potato chips faced while giving the brand a unique identity. Even people who don't regularly eat Pringles instantly recognize the tall tube and the perfectly stacked chips inside. So the next time you pop open a can of Pringles and notice that empty space at the top, you'll know it's not just wasted air. It's a carefully engineered buffer designed to protect the chips, maintain freshness, and keep those famous stacks intact. Sometimes the things that look useless at first glance are actually doing the most important job of all. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.